Then, since we look for fell deeds and in the need of all our strength, said Eomer, I counsel that we rest now, and set out hence by night. And so time our going that we come upon the fields when tomorrow is as light as it will be, or when our lord gives the signal. To this the king assented, and the captains departed. But soon Elfhelm returned.
The scouts have found naught to report beyond the grey wood, lord,
he said.
Save 2 men only. 2 dead men and 2 dead horses.
Well, said Eomer, what of it?
This, lord, they were errand riders of Gondor. Hirgon was one, maybe. At least his hand still clasped the red arrow. But his head was hewn off, and this also. It would seem that the signs that they were fleeing westward when they fell. As I had read it, they found the enemy already on the outwall or assailing it when they returned. And that would be 2 nights ago if they used fresh horses from their posts, as is their wont. They could not reach the city and turn back.
Alas, said Théoden, then Denethor has heard no news of our riding, and will despair of our coming. Need brooks no delay, yet late is better than never, said Eomer. And mayhap in this time shall the old say be proved truer than ever before since men spoke with mouth. It was night. On either side of the road, the host of Rohan was moving silently. Now the road, passing about the skirts of Mindoluin, turned southward. Far away and almost straight ahead, there was a red glow under the black sky of the sides of the great mountain, loomed dark against it. They were drawing near the Ramas of the Pelennor, but the day was not yet come. The king rode in the midst of the leading company, his household men about him. Elfhelm's Eored came next, and now Merry noticed that Danhelm had left his place, and in the darkness was moving steadily forward, until at last he was riding, just in rear of the king's guard. There came a check. Merry heard voices in front speaking softly. Outriders had come back, who had ventured forward almost to the wall. They came to the king. There are great fires, lord, said one. The city is all set about with flame, and the field is full of foes. But all seem drawn off to the assault. As well as we could guess, there are few left upon the outwall. And they are heedless, busy with destruction. Do you remember the Wild Wan's words, lord? Said another. I live upon the open wold in days of peace. Windfather is my name, and to me also the air brings messages. Already the wind is turning. There comes a breath out of the south. There is a sea tang in it, faint though it be. The morning will bring new things. Above the reek it will be drawn when you pass the wall. If you speak truly, Windfather, then may you live beyond this day in years of blessedness, said Théoden. He turned to the men of his household who were near, and spoke now in a clear voice, so that many also of the riders of the first Eored heard him.
Now is the hour come, riders of the mark, sons of Eol! Foes and fire before you, and your homes far behind. The glory that you reap there shall be your own forever. Oaths ye have taken, now fulfill them all, to lord and land, and league of friendship!
Men clashed, spear upon shield. Eomer, my son, you lead the first Eored, said Théoden, and it shall go behind the king's banner in the centre. Elfhelm, lead your company to the right when we pass the wall, and Grimbold shall lead his towards the left. Let the other companies behind follow these 3 that lead, as they have chance. Strike wherever the enemy gathers. Other plans we cannot make, for we know not yet how things stand upon the field. Forth now, and fear no darkness. The leading company rode off as swiftly as they could, for it was still deep dark, whatever change Windfather might forebode. Merry was riding behind Danhelm, clutching with the left hand, while with the other he tried to loosen his sword in his sheath. He felt now bitterly the truth of the old king's words. In such a battle, what do you do, Meriadoc? Just this, he thought. Encumber a rider and hope that best to stay my seat and not be pounded to death by galloping hoofs. It was no more than a league where the outwalls had stood. They soon reached them, too soon for Merry. Wild cries broke out, and there was some clash of arms, but it was brief. The orcs busy about the walls were few and amazed, and they were quickly slain or driven off. Before the ruin of the north gate in the Ramas, the king halted again. The first Eored drew up behind him, and about him on either side. Danhelm kept close to the king, though Elfhelm's company was away on the right. Grimbold's men turned aside, and passed round to a great gap in the wall further eastward. Merry peered from behind Danhelm's back. Far away, maybe 10 miles or more, there was a great burning. But between it and the riders' lines of fire blazed in a vast crescent, at the nearest point less than a league distant. He could make out little more on the dark plain, and as yet he neither saw any hope of morning, nor felt any wind, changed or unchanged. Now silently the host of Rohan moved forward into the field of Gondor, pouring in slowly but steadily, like the rising tide through breaches in a dike that men have thought secure. But the mind and will of the black captain were bent wholly on the falling city. As yet no tidings came to him warning that his designs held any flaw. After a while the king led his men away somewhat eastward to come between the fires of the siege and the outer fields. Still they were unchallenged, and still Théoden gave no signal. At last he halted once again. The city was now nearer. A smell of burning was in the air, and a very shadow of death. The horses were uneasy, but the king sat upon Snowmane, motionless, gazing upon the agony of Minas Tirith, as if stricken suddenly by anguish or by dread. He seemed to shrink down, cowed by age. Merry himself felt as if a great weight of horror and doubt had settled on him. His heart beat slowly. Time seemed poised in uncertainty. They were too late. Too late was worse than never. Perhaps Théoden would quail, bow his old head, turn, slink away to hide in the hills. Then suddenly, Merry felt it at last, beyond doubt, a change. Wind was in his face, light was glimmering. Far, far away in the south, the clouds could be dimly seen as remote grey shapes, rolling up, drifting. Morning lay beyond them. But at that same moment, there was a flash, as if lightning had sprung from the earth beneath the city. For a searing second it stood dazzling far off in black and white, its topmost tower like a glittering needle. And then, as the darkness closed again, there came rolling over the fields a great boom. At that sound, the bent shape of the king sprang suddenly erect. Tall and proud he seemed again, and rising in his stirrups, he cried in a loud voice, more clear than any there had ever heard a mortal man achieve before.
Arise! Arise! Riders of Théoden! Hell needs awake! Fire and slaughter! Spear shall be shaken! Shield be splintered! A sword day! A red day! Ere the sun rises! Right now! Right now! Right to Gondor!
With that, he seized a great horn from Guthlaf, his banner-bearer, and blew such a blast upon it that it burst asunder. And straightway all the horns in the host were lifted up in music, and the blowing of the horns of Rohan in that hour was like a storm upon the plain and a thunder in the mountains.
Right now! Right now! Right to Gondor!
Suddenly the king cried to Snowmane, and the horse sprang away. Behind him his banner blew in the wind, white horse upon a field of green, but he outpaced it. After him thundered the knights of his house, but he was ever before them. Eomer rode there, the white horsetail of his helm floating in his speed, and the front of the first Eored roared like a breaker foaming in the shore. But Théoden could not be overtaken. Fey he seemed, for the battle fury of his fathers ran like new Tyre in his veins. And he was borne up on Snowmane like a god of old, even as Orome the Great, in the battle of the Valar when the world was young. His golden shield was uncovered, and lo, it shone like an image of the sun, and the grass flamed into green about the white feet of his steed. For morning came, morning and a wind from the sea, and the darkness was removed, and the hosts of Mordor wailed, and terror took them, and they fled, and died, and the hooves of wrath rode over them. And then all the host of Rohan burst into song, and they sang as they slew. And the joy of battle was on them, and the sound of their singing that was fair and terrible came even to the city.